Hey guys, back with the next video in processing. I want you guys to notice that I'm in the exact same program as before. I'm going to go ahead and run it real quick for you and show what pops up so that you can see it's the same program that we have been working on in the last video. This program is going to be to show how to do basic drawing and processing, okay? It's going to be a little bit different than the other video. This is a day later, so we're going to go ahead and change that. But everything else is the same. Another thing, only other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resave it as basic drawing and processing. I think this is the 5th video. I'm going to put basic drawing. Okay, and I'm going to save it to my desktop. Yeah, where are my Python instructables? Here, no, not in videos. This is not a video. This is actually the sample program. So we'll save it here. Basic drawing now. The name has changed to basic drawing right here. Okay. So go ahead and run it and show you what we have. We ended up with a triangle down here at the bottom. Let's go down to that code where we had the triangle. Here it is right here. You can see the triangle there, and that's the last thing that we have on the screen right there. Okay, that triangle down here in the bottom with no stroke. We're filling it with blue. Then we have a stroke weight of 10 for the outside, and the stroke is yellow. So you got yellow around the triangle, and then the position of the triangle. Okay. So one thing I wanted to do was kind of put in here what the code for the triangle was. So I'm going to go ahead and put in triangle, and then the coordinates are x, y of the first corner, and then x, y of the second corner, and x, y of the third corner. So that is the code for the triangle right there. Okay. So after that, let's go ahead and do some more stuff here. So I'm going to teach you how to create a rectangle and a square. So the code for the rectangle is rect. I'm going to put this rectangle like this, and the code is rect. Then you want to put x, y, and then the width and the height. Okay. So that's the code for the rectangle. Here we're going to say, do we want a stroke? Sure, we can change the stroke to whatever color we want. Stroke, let's say 255, 0, 0. All right, guys, so the rectangle is going to be next. I'm going to put the rectangle, let's say 250, 250, comma, and then 100, comma, 100, okay? So I'm going to put a rectangle at x is 250, y is 250 as well, so it's the middle of the screen. This is the upper left corner of the rectangle, okay? Then you got 100 for the width and 100 for the height of the rectangle. So if you put 100 by 100, if these last two, the width and the height, are exactly the same number, it's going to be a perfect square, okay? If they are different numbers, then it's going to be a rectangle. I'll show you that in just one second. Notice how the rectangle is filled with blue. Why? Because we said fill up here, filling it with blue. We filled the triangle with blue. Since the computer runs the lines of code sequentially, then it therefore fills the rectangle with blue as well. So if we wanted to change the color of the rectangle, we have to put the fill command down here. Let's say we want to fill it with green, okay? So there is a green rectangle with a red outside, okay? So there's our rectangle. If we want to change the size of the rectangle, let's say we want to make it 300 by 100. So the width is going to be much longer, much wider than it is high. So you see that rectangle, see how wide it is. It goes, stretches across the x-axis there. And it only goes 100 right here. So we see that the height, let's say you wanted to make the height more, or quite a bit more. So I'm going to change that to 700. The width is 300, but the height is 700. So it makes quite a long rectangle there. So here is the upper left corner of the rectangle. This is at line 250, point 250, 250, right there, okay, upper left. And then the width is this, and it spans for 300 pixels. Each one of these blocks is 50, so this is 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 there. And then the height is 700. So you can count all the way down here. It goes 700 pixels down in that direction there. Okay. So another thing about rectangles is that they have modes. Okay, they have different modes. A rectangle can be in center mode, it can be in corner mode, or it can be in corners mode. Okay, so the way that you change that is with this command, rect mode. Say you want to change the rect mode to the default is corner, okay, with no S. The default is corner with no S. So we run it with the rect mode set to corner. It's the same thing that we saw before because it was just the default. Now there is one called corners, okay, and this is going to be different. Let me show you. So here's my rectangle. The way that this works is that it's the upper left corner and the bottom right corner. So the upper left corner is at 250, 250. The bottom right corner is at 300, 700. You see that? So that's how the corners mode works. There's also a center mode, which puts the X and the Y in the center. So 250, 250 is going to be around the center of this rectangle, and it's 300 pixels high. And so it's 150 to the north of the point, 150 to the south of the point, and then to the east of the point, 150, 150 to the west of the point, and then north of that point is going to be 350, and south of the point is going to be 350. So you split those two values up half and half, the points in the middle, so that's what you got. So you got three different modes there. We usually use the default mode, which is corner, but you need to know that there are different modes and you can draw rectangles a little bit differently. Okay, so there's the rectangle right there. Let's say, okay, the next thing we need to learn is an ellipse. Okay, ellipse is spelled E-L-L-I-P-S-E. The code is ellipse, and then the X and the Y of the center of the ellipse, and then also the width and the height of the ellipse. How many pixels wide, how many pixels high do you want that ellipse to be? Okay, so I'm going to just draw one real quick. Here's the code. I'm going to put it in the center of our screen, which is 500, 500, and then I'm going to make it 100 pixels wide by 100 pixels high. And it should come out looking just like the rectangle. So there it is right there in the middle. Now, one thing I want to point out to you is that these lines of code run sequentially. It means line by line. So what happens is the rectangle gets drawn, and then the ellipse gets drawn over the rectangle. You can barely see it because we haven't filled it with another color. But let's fill it with another color and see. So I'm going to fill it with probably with a yellow type color, I think. Let's fill it with a yellow color. 254, 255, 8. 254, 255, 8. All right, there we go. Now we run it, and we should see a yellow circle, a yellow ellipse over top of the rectangle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the rectangle off real quick because I want to show you guys something. And if you want to like remove some lines of code without actually deleting them, this is the way you do it with the block comment, okay? So you need a forward slash and the asterisk, and then at the end of that comment, you need the asterisk and a forward slash. Right there, all that is grayed out, so it's a block comment there, and we're just going to be running the ellipse. We're running the triangle and the ellipse, but we won't run the rectangle. So here it is right here, the circle. I just wanted to point out the X and the Y is at 500, 500, which is right in the middle of the circle. Then we got 100 pixels is the width and 100 pixels is the height. So it's a perfect circle. I want to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to put it 500, 500 so you can see it. And if you put those last two numbers, same with the rectangle, if you put those last two numbers the same, it's going to be a perfect circle. Okay, so there's a perfect circle right there. If you change the numbers, let's say I want to put 200 by 500, okay? So there's a change in the numbers. We run it again, and the rectangle has a much greater height than it does with the width. See, so the width here is 200, but the height up and down vertically is actually 500. Okay, so we can also shift it around. We'll put this one as 200 and the width is 500. So then when we run it, the rectangle is much wider than it is high. So here's the width across horizontally, the height vertically there. So there's an ellipse. Of course, same things apply. If you want to change the stroke, I'm going to just put no stroke here because I don't want any stroke. But if you wanted to change the stroke, you could. If you wanted to do anything else like that. So there's your ellipse. So now you can make some cool stuff. Let's say I want to put another ellipse in the side of that ellipse. Here we go. So I'm going to put ellipse. Same point. So middle point is 500, 500. And then I'm going to put it inside. So it's not going to be quite as big. So I'm going to put 300 and 100 here. So it's going to look like an ellipse inside. Okay, so I coded it and I go ahead and run it. And this is what I show up with. I do have two ellipses coded here, but you can only see one because they're right on top of each other and they're exact same color. We haven't filled it with anything different. So I'm going to just fill it with a different color real quick. I'm going to fill it with black so we can really see it. Here we go, fill with black, and there is my ellipse within an ellipse. Okay, so that's how you can make some cool stuff. So let's see, one other thing I wanted to show you guys was the quadrilateral. Okay, we got points and lines down already. So the one of the last shapes that we can do is a quadrilateral. Okay, so here it is here, and the code for it is quad. Then you have to give it, since it's a quad, it has 4 corners, right? So this is x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3, x4, y4. Okay, so you need a total of 4 sets of points. So 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of points there. Okay, so I want to fill it with a different color real quick. So I'm going to fill it with white so you can see it differently. Quad. Now, where am I going to put this guy? And let me put him in the bottom left of the screen. So I'm going to do something like 100, 100, 700, comma, 300, 700, comma, 340, comma, 800, comma, 140, comma, 800. All right, here we go. Here's a quad. Let's see what that looks like there. All right, there it is right there. I'll stop.